stranger.
Magnificent!
It was 1996. Bethesda just released The Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall to critical and commercial success. They exceeded even their own expectations. With this windfall, Bethesda went on to make a couple more experimental games. There were two design teams. The former, led by Julian LaFay, father of the Elder Scrolls himself, who sadly passed in July of 2025, created an Elder Scrolls Legend Battlespire. The second team, headed by Todd Howard, Michael Kirkbride, and Kurt Coleman, created the Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard. Both were colossal flops, and not in a let's reevaluate our business strategy kind of way. More of a, we've got one game left, if it's not a barn burner, we're screwed.
You know, we spread ourselves thin. We started doing a lot of games, and they just weren't good enough. We did Battlespire, I did Redguard, a game I love, but it didn't do well for the company. And we went into Morrowind. Man, there were six of us at the time, right? The studio had gotten that small, and I was in charge of Morrowind. But by that time, once you get to that point, there was this element of no fear. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? We could go out of business. Well, let's go all in. This is the game.
Redguard is a game he loves. And after playing it myself, I totally understand why. But after playing it myself, I also understand why it flopped. But the truth is, Redguard made the Elder Scrolls what it is today. Within the game manual is the Pocket Guide to the Empire Edition 1. This book is what transformed Tamriel from just some continent into a breathing world with a plethora of cultures across its many provinces. All the weird lore we love exists because of the Pocket Guide, because of Redguard. You'll be shocked by how much of the Elder Scrolls that you thought began with Morrowind actually began here. The game starts with a little recent history lesson to get us up to speed with the goings-on in Hammerfell. God walking among men, Tiber Septim, has been conquering the entirety of Tamriel, but the Redguards, led by King Thasad II, have been putting up a strong resistance. But when the king dies, due to natural causes of all things, the province erupts into a civil war. Where have I heard that before? The Forebears, led by Baron Volog, drive Prince Ator's crowns out of the north, pushing them to Stros Makai. But after losing a series of battles, the Forebears reach out to Tiber Septim for aid. In exchange for their allegiance, the Empire sends in military reinforcements, led by one of his best commanders, Lord Rickton. The fighting culminates in the Battle of Hunding Bay. Knowing Ator is a fierce opponent, especially on the open seas, Rickton has his assassin, Dram, shoot the prince with a poisoned arrow. The prince's wizards get to work trying to cleanse the poison, and it nearly works in saving him, but Lord Rickton also brought with him Nephalalargus, one of Tiber Septim's loyal dragons. The Crown's fleet is defeated, Lord Rickton is appointed as governor of Stros Makai, and the remaining crowns and forebears agree to a tenuous peace, being that they're all now subjects of the Empire. Our story begins with Cyrus, a Redguard who actually hasn't spent much time in Hammerfell at all. He's been living on the borderlands of the Empire these recent years, but something is about to call him back to his homeland.
Cyrus, eto forwakecher okodor.
Let's make this short, Sarathra. I've got work to do.
Balizihataratami. Sicho.
I leave with Duardine's men in an hour.
Renrigi intnor. Oko o imperial ja. Iko pofam rototvelk.
You should know you got me the job.
Tragir. Sratra kol kotero to Hammerfell. Boshe in rot.
The seal is broken.
Sratra warregat.
Yeah, I bet you were.
Nuko duadin. Sratra X. Sratra X Kyle.
Iszara.
Rolita dek kaudor.
I need a ship.
To board the koi Sratra nakovik warabarashi.
Money, too.
Sri duadin ja. Epako ja srik. Pur Sratra kadoeliter beko.
We haven't spoken in 10 years. There was trouble.
Kakatar.
I killed her husband.
I can't understate how excellent of an intro cinematic that is. The voice acting is great, even if one of them is speaking to Agra, the Khajiit if that wasn't clear, and it sets up exactly what kind of a character Cyrus is. He's a scoundrel, but he's respected. He cares about his sister, but his way of expressing that care is dubious.
Hammerfell's prodigal son, Cyrus, returns to the province of his birth. He buys passage to the island of Stosmakai in the hopes of rescuing his sister, Iszara.
Get below is what the pilot said to the wet-eared.
Okay, some of the voice acting is a bit weird.
The Restless League is claiming this cargo,
Said the other with cruel clarity.
Probably wouldn't make a difference if I told you I had no time for this.
This is about Redguard armor, boy. Stand aside.
Yes, a doubtful notion it is. Piracy and politics. But there you have it.
Never been much for politics. In my day, piracy was honest work.
Don't be a hero, boy.
Where's the money in that?
And yea, verily, by his bravery they were impressed for a scant few seconds.
And here's why I think the game flopped. As soon as you're in the world, as soon as you have agency, you have to fight. And the combat in this game is horrific. I understand what they were going for, but it didn't work. See, when you draw your sword, you enter a sort of combat stance, almost like a fencer. Cyrus can do standard cuts, or, by combining movement with attacks, he'll either thrust or lunge. It's a combo system. Enemies can do this as well. Great idea. The problem is, it's not obvious why one kind of attack works better than another. There's a block function, but it works against all attacks from the front. So, why are there different attack styles in the first place? If there were multiple guard stances, then having different attack types would make sense. But there aren't, so it doesn't. Ultimately, what works best is a timed jump attack. I think being in the air makes you invulnerable for a moment, and attacking while landing is difficult for the AI to block. So once you have the correct rhythm, you can just repeat this attack over and over again and win. It's heartbreaking, because once you get off this boat, there's a lot of interesting stuff waiting for you. It's so upsetting that this game was a flop because I'd love to see more like it. Small adventures in the Elder Scrolls universe with a narrower scope so they don't take over 15 years to make. Todd. Before we get too invested in the story just yet, let me address the two versions of this game that exist. You got the Steam version, which technically works right out the box, but it looks a bit ugly-er, and the shadows are kind of scraggly, and it crashes all the time, and the options menu doesn't really do anything. I guess it doesn't actually work right out the box, it just seems like it does. The GOG version, however, as you might expect, looks much better and is way more stable. The foundational difference between the two versions is how they're rendered. The Steam version uses a software renderer, while the GOG version uses hardware. These two versions were shipped together back in the 90s. The software-only version was the default, and the Glide 3D accelerated version, the hardware version, was specifically for people with Voodoo graphics cards. I don't know what those are. I've never heard of them, but to be fair, the oldest I was in the 90s was like 6.5. The company that made them, 3DFX Interactive, was consumed by Nvidia back in 2002, so now they're merely a whisper carried on the wind. A lot of tech companies on Wikipedia are wases, not ises, especially ones from the 90s. This is all to say, the version we're playing looks a bit nicer and doesn't crash randomly. Will the different renderer change the gameplay at all? Probably in some convoluted way, but sometimes you just gotta make do. I don't have an actual sponsor for this video, but it is brought to you by my Twitch channel. I don't really talk about it much, but one person in my Twitch chat berated me by saying once that I should actually talk about it more on the main channel, so people actually, know it exists. I stream on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 2 p.m. EST for about 4 to 5 hours, sometimes 6. Typically it's Elder Scrolls stuff, or Elder Scrolls adjacent things like Fallout. But sometimes we do some variety games on Thursdays, which I like to call Variety Friday. So if you'd like to come by, hang out in the chat, or just watch some VODs, the links are in the description. Right, Weeds? Pa. Good boy. He makes an appearance on the stream sometimes too. We've arrived in Stros-Makai, the small island off the southwestern coast of Hammerfell. And I must remark on this boat's excellent braking system. Stops on a dime. It's here that the player finally gets to read the letter Sarathra gave us, and we get our first objective. Go to the Dragon Tail Inn, and speak with Tobias. But as soon as we wander across the dock, this man beckons to us. Beckons us? He calls us over.
Greetings, stranger.
What can I do for you, friend?
The question is, what can I do for you? The young stranger in town, fearless, footloose, and fancy-free, a little light of purse, perhaps? I have a proposition that may appeal, but first allow me to introduce myself. Katero, contractor of Strosmakai, at your service.
Cyrus. Charmed. You call yourself a contractor. What does that mean?
Over here we have someone who needs something done. Over there we have someone who's looking for work. How do they find each other? That's where I come in.
Tell me about this job you have for me.
A simple task. Pick up an amulet from the Gasta and deliver it to the governor's palace. Now, to be honest, I've been having trouble finding someone to take the job. But I'm sure a robust lad such as yourself pays no attention to silly local superstitions.
Sure. I'll take the job.
Splendid. Here's your 100 gold. I'll have the rest for you after you deliver the amulet to the governor. Well, I'm sure you won't have any trouble, but, you probably want to do this during the daylight.
Cool. So we have 2 quests. The game is actually pretty open-ended, especially for a narrative-driven game. It takes a Daggerfall approach, in that there are multiple quest lines that need completing before it all culminates in a finale. I did do a couple quests on the Steam version before switching over to GOG, so I know there's some stuff we want to grab before leaving town. God, what's happening? Garrick sells a bunch of random nonsense, but since this isn't an open-world game, it's quite likely that everything is important, so we'll buy one of everything. A compass, some aloe, a kanah feather, a shovel, and a torch. If we hadn't spoken with Kataro first, we wouldn't have been able to afford any of this. The compass is self-explanatory. It helps you draw circles. Oh, and it points north. The shovel is for digging, the aloe is for potions, and the torch is a torch. And the feathers are weird. You'll see. The Dragontail Inn is not too far from the Mages Guild, which is also not too far from Garrick's goods. At the bar in the inn, we find Tobias, the sender of the letter.
Cyrus! You made it! Come here, lad!
He tells us the governor hasn't been merciful when dealing with leftover crowns, going so far as to burn the old quarter, where the crowns had fled following the final battle. With Cyrus's sister missing, Tobias fears only the worst. To avoid drawing ill attention to himself, he went to the Temple of Arcade to ask about Iszara. The temple tries to stay neutral in these political affairs. It was Brother Niddle who said she'd gone missing, and the Dragontail's innkeeper, Drekius, was also aware of her disappearance.
She frequented this establishment much before the battle in Hunting Bay. Less after, of course.
Of course?
She was a fervent one, your nestling, who hated the Empire not in hushed tones. After the occupation, she disappeared for a while.
She disappeared 3 months ago.
No, I'm talking about before that, right after the battle. Many crowns had scattered in the wake then, hiding where they could. I didn't see her for several days following. But then she showed up, needing a drink and rambling, tense on some decision.
What then?
The Imperials came, and I let her out through the window. I haven't seen her since.
This little conversation is another great example of how natural a lot of the dialogue in Redguard feels. Drekius is recalling events, and Cyrus is interjecting with questions and comments, causing Drekius to expound a little more. It's not just a monologue. So a priest at the temple might have some leads for us. That's great and all, but I want to show off the actual game and not just run around a port town chatting with randos. So let's actually get started with one of the quests. Doing a delivery for Governor Rickton.
Help! Murder! Help!
Not every voice line is a 10 out of 10, but they're all memorable. This bandit, and a few others in the area, drops a map of the region. The only way to get one.
A map of Strosmakai.
As far as I'm aware. And yes, there is a cartographer in Strosmakai, but he doesn't sell maps. Now, we finally arrived at our first real challenge. Platforming. But not just any platforming. Quick reaction platforming, because the bridge will start to fall apart as you cross it. Ah, damn it. And shark. Being able to quick save at any moment makes these jumps much more forgiving. At the end of the bridge is Nagasta's corpse boat. Had this game been made 20 years later, this boat have looked like something straight out of Scorn. You may be thinking H.R. Giger, but no, Zdzisław Bekczynski. Giger had a techno-organic aesthetic. Bekczynski was more flesh-based. When has giving money to an undead abomination on a boat ever gone wrong? Look at this lovely place. It's dead quiet. Well, nowhere's perfect. This is Nagasta's Island, and one of the first dungeons you get to explore. The first portion of the island is covered in skeletons that rise from their graves, seemingly without end. They're easy to kill, and they drop decent loot. Health potions, iron skin potions, strength potions, gold.
It's a strength potion.
And that's an exhaustive list of all the loot in the game, actually. Barring unique items. That's it, potions and money. Oh, I guess torches as well. The strength potions temporarily double the damage you do, the iron skin potions temporarily halve the damage you take, and the health potions heal 15 points of health. The candle in the top left is our health bar, if you hadn't deduced that already. Why is it a candle? I don't know. I guess it's more thematic than a red bar. I say that flippantly, but it kinda actually is. The main attraction of this part of the island is the Grand Palisade, or bulwark, or whatever you'd call it, the wall. The path into the necromancer's courtyard is blocked by a locked gate. Fortunately, there's an incredibly easy-to-miss lever in this skull's mouth. They made sure to put the skull out of the way so no one would notice before Cyrus. Pulling the lever doesn't open the main gate, though. It opens a secret chamber within the walls where we find a few potions and a crowbar. Half-Life reference? Before Half-Life? I can't believe it. We use the crowbar to successfully pry open the locked gate, breaking the crowbar in the process.
Looks like the crowbar broke.
I guess that qualifies as a puzzle. The next puzzle is figuring out how to cross the ravine separating this part of the island from Nagasta's tower. Atop this structure, under the eyeball statue, is a valve. When turned, the eye rotates, and the statue in the distance twists, creating a bridge. Gotta give credit where credit is due. This scene is framed brilliantly. Compare it to the previous lever. You pull it, and get a cutscene of a door opening. But where the hell is it? You gotta find it. Here, you know exactly what's going on.
Cyrus, this one is Nagasta, the necromancer of Strosmakai.
Have we met?
Yeah, so Nagasta's a slode, and he doesn't sound the way I would imagine. He hands over the amulet and demands we deliver it to the governor personally, and afterward Kotaro will pay us the rest of our fee. Before leaving, we can ask this slug lamprey a few questions, such as, why did the people of Strosmakai allow a slode necromancer to practice his craft on their island? His response is quite insightful. They don't, but there's nothing they can do about it. The Civil War just about killed anyone who could stop him, and the governor prefers to have Nagasta as an ally rather than an enemy. In return, the governor's policies grant Nagasta a lucrative business model. See, among necromancers, souls are as much of a currency as they are sources of power, especially among necromancers who owe their allegiance to Clavicus Vile.
Clavicus Vile? Please.
Do not mock that name, mortal.
Pray forgive me, necromancer. It just seemed an overly unsubtle name, that is all.
They were born before stars, mortal. Do you consider that perhaps such names preceded, and perhaps inspired, the concepts they connote?
His one regret is that his soul snare hadn't been set up before Archmage Voa was killed at the Battle of Hunding Bay. Such a soul would have been most valuable. For context, think of a soul snare as an island-wide soul trap. Anyone who dies within its range has their soul claimed by Nagasta. Unless proper precautions are taken, of course. Rituals, burial rites, that kind of stuff. But that's all world building and flavor. I'm sure it won't ever come up. We return the way we came, dodging zombies, killing skeletons, and paying a single gold coin to the Bekchinski boat. What happened? What the hell was that? Did I just beat the game? Yeah, there's a credits button. With the amulet in hand, we're free to go straight to the governor's palace and get an audience with the man, where we'll be able to ask about our sister. But there are a few chores we have to deal with. First, we dispose of this annoying NPC.
Well met, stranger.
Magnificent!
Next, we'll have a word with Brother Niddle, since the Temple of Archaea is right here.
Hello, brother. I'm Cyrus, recent to this shore.
Brother Niddle, good son, welcome to the Temple of Archaea.
He says he knew Iszara well, and that she's not the only crown to have disappeared since the governor claimed the city. Brother Kithral was enamored with Iszara and fell for her crown propaganda, something unbefitting for a priest of Arche. Niddle sent Kithral to the park to collect mandrake root, and he never returned, likely scooped up by Richton's men. So there may be something to find in the park. We'll keep that in mind. Next door to the temple is the Mages Guild, where we meet the best character in the game.
Hello, stranger. Welcome to the Mages Guild of Stros Mackay, fully chartered since 638 CE. I'm the resident shopkeeper hereabouts. Feel free to look around, but remember, everything is guild property. If there's anything you'd like to buy, just let me know.
She's very pointy. Look at those ears. Jokes aside, there's just something about her that's charming. The delivery of her lines and her overall affect is endearing.
I think the guild has a prejudice against elves based on the fact that we live so long, and have the potential of reaching heights no human wizard could ever dream for, unless he goes the rotting way, which so many do. But I guess I'm just being bitter.
And I think Cyrus is a bit nervous around her.
What's for sale?
Read into that however you want. We'll buy some health potions. There's also a more frugal way to get healing items. Outside the port is an abandoned alchemist shack. Here we find a glass bottle, an arcane item impossible to get anywhere except in derelict hovels. With the bottle, we go to the well outside the Dragontail Inn, lower the bucket into the well, raise the now filled bucket from the well, drop in a piece of that aloe we bought from Garrick, and finally dip our bottle into the concoction, creating 20 pure water and aloe mixes. They're healing potions. You can buy as much aloe as you want from Garrick for 5 gold each.
5 gold pieces.
And each aloe makes 20 potions. Now, we can drop off the amulet.
This man insisted he deliver the amulet to you himself, my lord. A certain amount of persistence is admirable, isn't it, Dram? Very well. Your job is done. Give the amulet to one of the guards.
Hold on, Governor. I have a few questions to ask you first, about a woman named Iszara.
He's no courier. This is not an audience, sir. You forget yourself.
She's been missing for a few months and people think she may be in trouble. They also say you might have something to do with it.
My lord. No, I'll handle him. I know of this Iszara, young man. Her troubles are of her own making, I'm sure. When you mix with thugs and murderers...
Like I said, you might have something to do with it.
Under Imperial law, the Restless League and this Iszara woman, a known consort and confederate of the League, are guilty of piracy, sedition, and treason, and subject to summary execution. In my capacity as governor, such executions are my responsibility. But this Iszara has not come to my notice, and if she has disappeared, she has done so without my help. And now I have other pressing affairs.
Are you saying she was part of the Restless League?
You are dismissed, courier.
We don't seem to understand each other, Governor. Iszara is my sister, and this isn't an audience. It's an interrogation. Tell me all you know, or I'll give you more trouble than the League ever has.
You would threaten an Imperial governor? Are you simple? Threaten me, and you prove yourself a traitor, and must die for it. Guards, seize that man!
For the rest of the game, we're kill on sight. Every guard that sees us will attack, starting with these 3.
Not this time.
A fine cut! So this is the Redguard fire I've heard so much about. Young man, you've the makings of a fine swordsman, but by your actions you condemn yourself and forfeit your life. Dram?
No, let me question this one. He is a fool, but fools can be useful.
Prison is better than dying, I suppose.
Where am I?
Beneath the palace. Ancient catacombs. A nice place to rot and die.
Who are you? Why are you here?
And just another League hero. But no execution for me. Little torture. Interrogation. Then left to die in this hole. Fooled him, though. I swallowed the key. Bit nasty when it came out the other end. Not looking forward to swallowing it again, though. Can't leave it around when they haul my corpse out of here.
He's good as dead, unfortunately, much like the Restless League. They're a dying breed, he says, but if we really want to find them, we gotta go to the lighthouse and give them the signal. What's the signal? Who knows? He tells us to take the key and then dies. I was gonna take the poop key anyway, dumbass. It could have given me more information. So, how's this key gonna help us escape? Well, obviously, you use the key on the loose brick in the wall, causing that 2-ton slab to roll several feet away from the wall, situating itself right under a conveniently placed rope. Our weapons were confiscated, so our first priority is finding where they put them. The hallways are a bit narrow, and the guards patrolling the place are mad that we're trying to escape, but slipping past them isn't so bad. The combat is its own can of worms, so we won't linger too much on that. It's mostly just jump attacks. The puzzle we need to solve to escape this dungeon, however, is more interesting. We have 4 pressure plates, which, when stepped on in a specific order, open one of the 3 doors before us. Within each door is one of the pieces we need to solve the final puzzle. The left door is a test of our platforming prowess. It's not as precarious as it looks. There's an animation that plays when Cyrus lands. He takes a couple steps forward and does a little thriller dance move. It seems like you would have to worry about that extra momentum. Not only do you have to make the jump, but you have to make sure you don't run off the other side of the platform. But this isn't the case. If the animation takes Cyrus to a ledge, he'll just finish the animation in place. It's like he hits an invisible wall. Very forgiving. At the end of the Tamrielic equivalent of the Brimhaven Agility Dungeon are some more guards who have the worst commute and a mysterious runestone.
A rune with 2 lines and a dot on it.
Which we take. The rightmost door is more combat focused, but the architecture's neat, so that's fun. It's a mosaic of a borzoi. At the end of the second passage is the second runestone.
A rune with 2 lines on it.
Finally, the middle door. Our first obstacle is a lava pit, above which are 3 appropriately spaced lengths of rope. It's not obvious that you can swing on ropes, but I suppose this section acts as a bit of an organic tutorial. The only way to cross the pit would be by swinging from rope to rope. This signals to the player that the ropes are indeed swing-fromable. Another borzoi, and the final runestone.
A rune with a line and a dot on it.
So what do we do with these things? Back in the main chamber, the one with the 4 pressure plates, is this mess. We use the patterns on the 3 runestones to determine which of the red glyphs is the key glyph. I assume this isn't personalized, so it's the pointy D. On the wall opposite the shape matrix is a dial. We turn it so it points to the pointy D, slot the 3 runestones into the dial in the order they show up on the wall, and pull the lever. And we've escaped. Or so you would think. We gotta climb all the way up these structures, swing across a couple ropes, and pull the world's least convenient lever, one that opens a door 20 feet below you. Walk backwards, stupid.
Try me,
Dude,
traitor.
Walk backwards. What the hell's wrong with you? Thank you, jeez. What an ornate door. There must be something important back there, and certainly not the most anticlimactic fight ever made. But right now, we gotta get out of here.
Governor, I have news of the Redguard. Which bloody Redguard? The one recently put into the catacombs, sir. The one named Cyrus. He has escaped. What? He is nowhere to be found, sir. We are combing the streets for him now. But escape is impossible from the catacombs. The traps and so forth, right, Dram? I hear you. Thank you, guardsmen. Carry on, and keep me posted. I underestimated the Redguard. Bah! Overestimated the dungeons of our enemies, more likely. Never trust another man's death traps. Double the guard immediately, and increase the patrols in town and along the waterfront. The Redguard must not find his sister. Leave him to me.
We're now persona non grata, and will be attacked on sight by every guard. They're easy to run away from, but it's best not to stick around for too long.
5 gold pieces.
We should investigate what happened to Brother Kithril. Brother Niddle had said the priest went missing while collecting herbs in the park. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not going to say I figured this out on my own, but we're supposed to notice there's a cave behind the park's waterfall. As far as I'm aware, no one actually points you to this dungeon. It's just, go to the park and figure it out, you loser. Welcome to Blighttown, DOS edition. It's full of goblins. Sound familiar? And just like Morrowind, they're a pain in the ass to fight. There's a big door in the center of this room, and it's barred by a giant bar. Like many other action-adventure games, both of its time and decades in the future, a lot of Redguard's dungeons amount to get through door by solving puzzle in other part of dungeon, then solve puzzle behind door, and then repeat that a few times till the game is over. For the Goblin Caves, our first challenge is getting down. As you can see, there's an arrow pointing into the sludge below, but not even the goblins would put up a sign simply to mislead. They're more honest than that. There must be something down there. If only I could rotate the camera. If only the game came with that feature. I'm not an idiot. Oh, hello. Oh, this sucks. Oh, this way. Okay, oof. I thought we had to jump. Okay. Oof. Alright. 15 minutes of awkward platforming later, and we find a boat. How did a boat get inside a waterfall? How did a cave get inside a waterfall? Ah, well, you see, space is merely a fickle convolution. Don't worry about it. Naturally, we cross the Goo Lake and find several barrels of gunpowder. How do we know it's gunpowder? That was less exciting than I thought it'd be. God damn it. The platforming is janky, but the bigger problem is frame rate goofiness. Oh my god, dude. When you reload a save, or at least when I reload a save, the game runs at like 300 frames per second for a couple seconds. Zooming over a ledge is not uncommon. What the hell? What? How am I this calm? I don't know. What kind of guy I am. Whoops. There. Now that we've escaped the boat chamber, we can carry on across the stalactites the explosion knocked loose. Is a fallen stalactite that's now sticking up out of the ground still a stalactite? Or is it reclassified as a stalagmite? Probably the former. I'm guessing the exact definition is based on how it formed, not where it is. Geologists, sound off. Ah. Aha. Oh, that's only one of them. Oh no, it's two of them, okay. The trek back to the start of the dungeon begins. See this stone statue thing? What do you think it does? That's right. If you step on it, you teleport into a cage hovering above green goo. Stand on it longer, and you teleport into a room with a crack you can examine.
I wonder what's in there.
A bit weird, but this chamber does have a door that leads us back to the beginning of the dungeon. Now we can go through the giant door we just opened. In the next part of the dungeon, we have mushrooms, a Morrowind reference, and a new enemy. Trolls. They are stupidly strong, and their attacks can't be blocked, so it's best to just avoid them. Stupid freaking sign. Trying to jump onto the mushroom. No. Well, that seems to be the idea. We got more trolls to run past, and rather than a lake of goo, we have a river of goo. This must be where Black Mesa got the inspiration. It's even got nondescript valves that protagonists can't help but turn. It seems to have disabled the river. There's a single dead goblin at the bottom of the riverbed, with a key made from an arm bone. But what door does it unlock? And more importantly, how do we get out of here now? The path we took down is too steep to scale back up, and these trolls certainly aren't helping our exploration. Oh, did I kill it? Or is it gonna come back? Because it's a troll. Oh, wait. I have an idea. Ah, yeah! I knew it! I knew it. I knew... Yeah, trolls, they don't like fire. son of a... See, because there was a torch right here that gave me the hint. That's where I got the hint. Oh, why would they put a torch here? I spent much longer than I'm proud to admit trying to figure out where the hell to go. I deduced the troll's weakness on my own, but I couldn't figure out that the sluice gate was climbable. Just jump across it and carry on. Up next is the most finicky platforming in the whole game. I am not kidding. We ride this Silk Strider looking dude through the Goo River, and while it's turning, we have to jump over to this collapsed building. It's a lot tougher than it looks because Cyrus just sometimes prefers to stay put no matter what button you press. Go, you stupid bastard. Oh my god, I press forward and he doesn't do anything. Dying on purpose. Now, I can't make the jump. Oh, what? What did I just grab? What the, I just teleported into the goo. There we go. Jeez, save. Boss fight time. This is an ogre. It's immune to all attacks. No exceptions. Even though I'm hitting it, and the game is playing the sound effect that plays when you damage enemies, it's actually not doing anything. Somehow, Redguard provides less combat feedback than Morrowind. What you're supposed to do is trick the ogre into attacking the pillars, causing the roof to collapse, crushing it. This didn't work. Its axe just kept clipping through the pillar. So instead, we'll just loot the body and book it. We find Archmage Voa's ring, the same ring referred to in Kithral's journal. A bit of a sequence break here. We never found Kithral's journal. We were supposed to find Kithral first, and that would lead us further into the dungeon. I only realized this after returning to town and getting no updated dialogue from Brother Niddle. So we have to return to the Gobbo Caves once again. Thank hunting, Kithral's corpse isn't too far into the dungeon. He only managed to make it past this wall of goblin glory holes before dying. I regret that analogy. Well, not really. I'm leaving it in the video. I don't regret it. I can't regret it that much.
The Journal of Brother Kithral, wherein he describes a search for Archmage Voa's ring in the caverns below Stros Mackay. This last part reveals much.
I can taste the poison in my mouth, a yellow fog in the chest that clogs the vital passages. Oh, the gash in my side weeps fast. Which will kill me first, wound or toxin? Damn her impatience, and damn my pride to think I might find the ring here in this nefarious darkness on my own. But she missed the rendezvous, and I fear we are running out of time. With the Archmage's ring, we are one step closer to restoring the crowns to power. I am sure his body is here. Some trick of undercurrent in the wake of the battle. The spider's milk is deep. Iszara, I pray nothing has happened to you. I hear the goblins behind the door. Ubula, Ubula, Ubula. They come for me. I have failed you, my love, and the ring is nowhere nearer. You must hurry. The League is closing in. The Empire is closing in. The darkness is closing.
We should search deeper into these caves to see if we can't find that ring.
Brother Niddle, I have bad news. I found Kithral's body in the caverns. He's dead. I'm sorry.
The caverns? What could he have been doing there?
I found his journal among the remains. You should read it.
Oh my. Poor lad. What did he hope to accomplish? Cyrus, I now count you as a friend. Kithral's fate is revealed, and I shall bring you into my confidence.
Go on.
The body of Prince Hator is here, at the temple.
It is?
Yes, it's the only safe place for it. We can't quite bury it.
Why?
There is a spell of stasis upon it, to preserve it and stave off its decay. Archmage Voa enchanted it thus, just after the prince's death.
Archmage Voa is mentioned in the journal, and his magical ring, which both Kithral and my sister were looking for.
Voa's ring was used to enchant the prince's body.
So they would have used it?
To dispel the body's stasis field.
Why would they do that? That would only serve to send the body along to rot.
Yes, you're right. It doesn't quite make sense, does it? It is Redguard custom to preserve their great leaders in stasis, so that they might be looked upon ever after in their prime. To break the stasis would be treason,
or hubris, even.
No, there's something we're not getting yet. Both Iszara and Kithro were crowns. Whatever they had planned for the prince would only have been for his benefit.
I am sure you are right.
The journal all but confirms Iszara was part of the Restless League. Rickton confirmed it too, but he's less trustworthy. But we still don't know how to get in contact with the League. All we know is there's a lighthouse and some signal. Maybe Tobias knows something.
I don't know the signal.
Great, useless. Perhaps this snake charmer has an idea.
He looks a little preoccupied.
Well?
What if I gave him gold? No, not him.
Hello, my name is Cyrus.
I can give him money.
Well?
Thank you, my boy.
Oh, it's just like
My
RuneScape.
name is Avik.
Are you familiar with a group called the Restless League?
Can't say that I am, but I mostly keep to myself. With the Yokudan's banned from Strosmakai, I don't have many friends here in town.
Well, the snake charmer doesn't reveal much, but he does tell us about an innocent Yokudan boy, Howl, who was killed by the Imperials. To counteract the soul snare, Howl's mother has been performing a ritual outside the port, lest the boy become necromancer fodder. He also says the boy enjoyed the snake charming music, appropriate for someone born under the sign of the serpent. This information feels too specific to be unimportant. We'll file it away for later. So the barfly can't help us. The street performer has information, but not the kind we're looking for. I guess our next best option is the merchants. Garrick says the last time he saw Iszara was when she came around looking for malachite, but he doesn't sell the stuff and couldn't get any in stock for a few weeks. He fears Iszara took her purse to the smuggler's den.
I'm a pretty bird.
Yes, you are. So the smuggler's den might give us some direction.
What's a password?
Bloodshot?
Sorry, mate, I can't help you.
Well, they're in his basement, so maybe the cartographer knows something.
I've heard tell that your basement is used as a smuggler's den.
Really? How about that? I rent the downstairs to some local lads. They're quiet, always pay up on time. I can't imagine they're up to anything illegal.
Okay, as useless as Tobias. I can't get a read on him, though. Does he actually think the lads he rents to aren't smugglers? Guess it's none of his business. The less he knows, the better. There's a bookshop nearby, Jaffur's Books. A word of caution. When speaking to NPCs, you might get stuck. I think what happens is you activate the dialogue, but you continue moving, so the dialogue never triggers, but you're stuck in place as if the dialogue triggered. This is why you save early, and save often. But I discovered a workaround. Using the console, if you use the load 0 command, you'll be placed in the cutscene at the start of the game, the one that plays after you kill those 2 pirates. Once the cutscene ends, you'll be dropped in the waters by the dock, at which point you can move and swim back to shore. Anyway, Jaffur's Books.
Welcome to Jaffur's.
Now that's a voice. Probably pitch shifted. He's strictly a business cat. We can't even ask about Iszara, but we can buy books. For 54 gold, we buy Faveril's Dwarven Lore. Just for fun, and not because I happen to know that we'll need it eventually. The last shopkeep we got is Chrysandra, Strosmakai's silversmith. She's got some choice words to say about the Restless League. As a supporter of the Forebears, it should come as no surprise. But she also doesn't seem to be too pleased that the Empire is now in control of Hammerfell. She'd hoped Baron Volag would take the throne. Alas, civil war is messy. Does this backstory affect the plot going forward? Not really, no. It's just adding some interesting flavor to an otherwise background character. We ask her about the Smuggler's Den, which she claims to just be a little club where the local boys go to gamble and play cards.
So do you think it's nothing more sinister than that?
Well, I've heard rumors it was connected with the Restless League, but they're hard to take seriously if a joker like Lakeen could get in.
What does Lakeen have to do with the Smuggler's Den?
Oh, I really shouldn't gossip, but I'm sure you won't tell anyone, will you, Cyrus? Seems he was gambling at the Smuggler's Den and lost his wife's antique silver locket. He came to me, desperate to have it replaced, so she wouldn't find out. I'd have been glad to help, but I couldn't reproduce it simply from his description. Poor fellow. He went away quite crushed.
Let's have a chat with Lakeen.
I know you've been gambling at the Smuggler's Den, Lakeen, and I need to get in there.
Damn! Where'd you hear that? Look, that's not something I'm proud of, so keep your voice down. Let's move this conversation elsewhere.
You know how far away that is?
Gambling away your wife's silver locket, not good. Tell me what I want to know. What do you know about Iszara, the League, and that den?
Calm down, please. I know nothing. I've only been there to gamble a few times. I've heard the League goes there, but I ain't seen him or this Iszara woman, I swear. And if my wife finds out about the gambling, I'll be dead.
Then just give me the password and I'll take it from there.
Sure, but you gotta help me first, Cyrus. Please! Get my silver locket back from that Rolo cheater, and I'll give you the password, I swear. Please!
Rolo?
Smelly guy, cheats at cards. He won that locket through trickery, the foul dust belly.
Okay, knock off Gilbert Gottfried. I'll get your locket. This next part is a bit convoluted. Rolo is a dock worker who spends all his time within his dwelling, sitting on a chest containing the locket. But when a ship comes to port, he leaves his dwelling to do dock worker stuff. He knows a ship is docking because this old man...
My name's Favis. Everybody just calls me Favis, though.
...rings a bell to alert the port. Favis knows to ring the bell because the city's lookout, Purnell, goes out of his tower and waves a red flag. Unfortunately, Favis takes his work seriously and won't let us ring the bell just for the hell of it. So we need to get Purnell to wave the flag. Purnell will actually give the flag to us if we get him his eyeglass. He's practically blind without it, but it works out because Favis is practically deaf. He thinks the bell's broken because it doesn't ring as loud as it used to. Purnell had come around to check on the bell not too long ago and found nothing wrong with it, but he did lose his eyeglass in the process.
What's this? Nothing wrong with this bell. Just the old man's ears that need fixing. What's this?
Oh, jump. I want whatever that thing is that's there.
What's this?
Yeah, that.
What's this?
You fell.
What's this? What's this?
Oh my god.
What's this?
Can I pick it up?
Stay there, young fella!
What's this?
What's this?
What's this?
What's this? We bring the eyeglass to Purnell, and he gives us the flag, which we wave out in the walkway, prompting Favis to ring the bell. With Rolo out by the docks, we enter his dwelling, crack open the chest, take the locket, and return to Lakeen.
Oh, thank goodness! You got it! I'm saved! Never going back to that den again! No, sir. No more for me, but have your own go at it. The password you require is spoon. Be careful, Cyrus, and thanks again.
What's a password?
Spoon.
Right, just a second.
The overseer of Vault 13 confirms that the Restless League did indeed do business with the Smuggler's Den, but they haven't been seen in a while. And the last time he saw Iszara was when she came in search of malachite. She traded a Restless League insignia for it, said the insignia was good for favors from the League.
I could use that insignia Iszara gave you. Can I have it?
Well, that depends. What's in it for me?
You claim to be Iszara's friend. I'm trying to find out what happened to her, and I need that parchment to do it.
I never said I was her friend, just that I knew her. What makes you think I care what happened to her?
Because I know my sister. She would have liked you. She always did have bad taste in men.
Is that supposed to be an insult? Hell, you may as well take it. I can see if I don't give it to you, you'll just stand here talking all day. And I got work to do.
The R in the title, you'd think it means Redguard, but it actually means restless. Whoa, symbolism or something. This was a helpful lead, but we still don't know what the signal is. If we go back and talk to Lakeen, he mentions something about an old Dwemer ruin to the southwest. The game wouldn't have this dialogue option if the ruins weren't important in some way, so we might as well head in that direction and check it out. Because we're going to be going on a trek far from the port, I think this is a great time to show off Redguard's version of fast travel. There are a handful of shrines of Kinneret around the island, and by using a Kana feather on it... Oh, hello. I'm a bird.
Magnificent!
What? Anyway, we're hiking up a mountain. Now this is pretty exciting, because we're about to experience the first true implementation of Dwemer ruins. Arena had a dwarven mine, but that was back when the Elder Scrolls dwarves were just standard fantasy dwarves. Excellent artisans, renowned smiths, living in a volcano, you know how it is. Daggerfall had dwarven equipment, but that's the most you ever really hear from them. And if I recall correctly, as of Daggerfall, the Numidium had nothing to do with the dwarves. In fact, I don't think it's ever explained where the Numidium came from. It's just something Tiber Septim had. It begins with an airship. Look at that. The governor has his archaeologists working in the ruins, collecting long-forgotten Dwemer tech. But why ever would the Empire be interested in Dwemer technology? What do they expect to find? Another reality-altering mech? Not far from the airship camp, on the mountain across the valley, is the entrance to the Elder Scrolls' first Dwemer ruin. Check out those statues. You can see the DNA. Check out this ballista. Looks familiar, huh? Redguard is where it all began. It's where the art style was solidified. It's fantastic. I love this dungeon. It's like time traveling. It's so cool. Since we bought that book on Dwarven lore, we can easily translate the writing on this door. We speak the correct words and stroll right in. The first room is standard platforming. Also, there's a laser trap in the middle of the room, so be careful. In the next major room, we have guards to fight. An ancient race known for advanced technology, and we fight regular dudes. I guess Bethesda hadn't thought up of Dwemer automatons yet. Where else do you think this mosaic shows up? This is the dungeon that really made me fall for Redguard. Look, they even have irrationally designed opening mechanisms for their doors. Their ruins have been death traps ever since. A lovely problem I ran into was figuring out how to progress from here. You swing across ropes, pull a lever, swing back across ropes, enter a newly opened door, and nothing. Ah, but you see, there's a ledge just out of view. If you could freely move the camera, it would have been obvious. Oh. Okay. I'm still mad. It's going to be a lot better if you had a free camera. Holding Alt and using the movement keys can move the camera. Well, oh my god! That changes so much. Oh, wow, I wish I knew that. I need to read the manual. I like the excessive amount of turquoise the Hammerfellian Dwemer used. Morrowind's Dwemer were all about the browns, and Skyrim's was primarily dingy brass. Although Keening has that turquoisey crystal look. Oh, and there's that crystal that holds the Elder Scroll in Skyrim. It's got kind of a smoky blue. Oh my god! Is that what I think it is? Oh, it's not. Okay, never mind. This chamber appears to be where all the ballista eagles make their nests, and by pulling this lever, we load a bolt into one of them. How effective it'll be, pointing at a wall, is up for debate. We climb onto the bird bot, pull another lever, and cause the bolt to thrust forward slightly, wedging it into the wall with the most delicate grace. This is a hint. We can use this bolt as a platform. No, climb up, stupid. No, go up on the friggin' thing, dumbass. Dude. Oh my god, Cyrus, why are you... You know, I like you, man, but come on. Up! There we go. Ah, the bolt spans the gap between the pipe and the other side of the broken bridge, allowing us further access into the dungeon, where we encounter perhaps the most esoteric puzzle I've ever seen. I can't even explain how it works. I'm pretty sure I just lucked into the solution. The idea is to shapeshift the Dwemer transformer so its arms pull down on the correct chains, but the feet can also pull on the chains too, so you want them to pull, but in the correct order. Sometimes the spikes will kill you if you stand on the button between them, but only if the transformer is oriented in a certain way. Other times, the button will rotate the transformer, and the spikes won't... I don't get it, but at least the Dwemer Bakugan looks cool. That entire puzzle was just to open this door. Hello! Oh, it's so... They're so tiny. Damn it if they aren't cute as hell. This next puzzle is rather simple. Turn the valves so the pipes are connected in a way that matches the diagram on the wall, and then activate the central thingamabob so the little arm whatsits start collecting heat from the lava. I believe it's supposed to be a steam engine. But yeah, the more I play this game, the more I feel a remake for it would be fantastic. It's like, imagine if you put the soul of like a 20-year-old Olympian into an elderly man's body. This is what it feels like. It's like, you know there's potential, but they're just held back by the thing they've been put inside. See? Once everything is lined up, we get assaulted by a hellishly loud cutscene, signifying that the power has returned to the ruins. Using these now functioning whirligig platforms, we access a shortcut that returns us to the beginning-ish of the dungeon. A third door is now opened. Wonderful, a boss fight. I wish I could say it's difficult, but the thing can barely even... Okay, so you get killed in a single hit, but as long as you stay close to its legs, you should be fine. I have no idea what I'm doing. Hey! I don't know why it worked, but it worked! Hooray! Our reward is a Dwemer gear. We will need this, but we haven't found out why. Admittedly, we were never told to visit these ruins, so it's no surprise that our reward is a bit confusing. Now that this escapade is completed, we ought to go down to Saintsport and see if we can't figure out what to do with that lighthouse. Maybe there's someone there who's with the League. I'm trying to make our adventure feel natural, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't consult UESP every now and then. To Redguard's credit, if you immediately went to Saintsport after receiving the insignia, you would have encountered this. A giant Dwemer observatory. Undoubtedly, it would draw the player's attention, and they would want to investigate. When we enter, we meet the best character in the game. Every character is the best character in the game.
Greetings, I am Cyrus.
You scared Erasmo!
You ever running into any pirates? Anybody known as the Restless League?
You're the first person I've seen in a while. Flash, nobody comes up here, especially pirates. They scared. Run away!
Run away from what?
The ghosts!
Ghosts? What ghosts?
Flash! Ghosts in the lighthouse, shining the light! Flash, flash, flash! Then, Rasmo! Wake the hell up!
Flash, flash, flash. That's a hint, both subtle and incredibly obvious. Our secondary objective here is helping Erasmo fix up this observatory. He's been working on it, at Richton's orders.
But Rickton killed Rasmo if he not fixed. I was living here. Lots of space and pretty metally stuff. He let me stay if I fixed. If not, he'd say cut off Erasmo's arms and put me in a box.
But he injured himself on the job, and now he can't move his legs. That's why he's driving that Dwemer monocycle. All he's managed to repair is the orrery, but not the telescope. To get everything up and running again, he needs a gear. See, I think the idea is to get the insignia, head towards Saintsport, come here along the way, learn the signal through context clues, and get a motive to go to the ruins. You get the gear, and you fix the observatory. But why would you want to fix the observatory? Well, there was another quest in Stros Makai that we could have picked up, but I didn't. So, hindsight is 2020, and we all remember how wonderful 2020 was. Oops. Is this another ridiculous dungeon? I'm stuck. Oops, okay. I think I skipped a chunk of this platforming puzzle by accidentally falling. No skin off my nose. Drop the gear into the gear hole, because that's how it works. Ride the elevator back to the surface, and admire our handiwork. We can move the telescope by stepping on the blocks along the perimeter of the room, and we can adjust the height of the telescope so we can look at different portions of the sky. This will play a bigger role later. Let's carry on to Saintsport. The lighthouse is locked, but do you remember the poop key? What we thought was a key to escape the prison is actually a key to open the League's lighthouse. It's an RFID lock. The lighthouse isn't lit, probably because the Green Goblin is nowhere to be found. He's distracted by the Batman. We touch a torch to the pyre and flash this thing 3 times, with the final flash being a bit longer than the first 2.
Finally, a ship's coming. Time to find out what these pirates know.
Geez, were they just waiting offshore? Alright, Cyrus, we've been building up to this. Remember, first impressions are everything.
Where the hell is my sister?
Damn it, Cyrus. She's understandably wary, but that insignia we got from the smuggler's den is more than enough to earn an audience with the League. Anchors away, me hearties, we're setting sail. This place reminds me of No Man's Wharf from Dark Souls 2. The best Dark Souls game. If you have bad taste.
There's the bastard that spoiled my raid.
That was you? I remember 2 jokers who couldn't handle their sabers, but you must have been hiding.
You see me now, though, don't you? Vander. Plain as day, right here.
Are you Basil? You're a hard man to find.
Mystery Maintenance, Cyrus. What do you want?
We don't need to talk to him. Let me...
Listen here, Spotlight. I'm not here for you. I know everything you have to say. Draw your sword anytime you're ready.
Cyrus is such a shit talker, I love him. After a bit of a contentious back and forth with Basil, we learn that the League has no idea where Iszara is, which could only mean she's in trouble. Then Baldy attacks us because he's a dick, but we have jump cheese, so he surrenders rather quickly. After the fight, Basil gives us a bandage to clean our wounds, and a key to Iszara's lodgings. She left behind a journal which no one in the League can open. If we can crack it, Basil will tell us everything he knows. Well, we just got a bandage, so it must be relevant. We use it on our wounds, healing to full, and are left with a bloody bandage. I guess we'll use the gross bandage on the journal. Yep, that worked. Cool. Sure.
First C26, Common Era, 864. This is my last entry. As I'm taking leave of this maddening torpor, the time to act is at hand. Basil and the rest of his lazy wolves are content to mourn our prince and hide in shadows, even while we have the very thing the governor fears most. For months my love has lain in amber, while the Empire firms its hold. Hammerfell will be lost forever if Prince Ator is not restored. I'm decided. If the League can't shake its slumber, then I will steal the soul gem as they sleep. By morning, I'll be in Stras Makai, where there are others who might give me the help I need. Cyrus, the gypsy woman told me you would come to Stras Makai. I laughed in her face, of course, but I leave this warning if only for respect of one's elders. If the bloodlock is opened, then I know it is you, and I ask you to heed the next. Leave me my dilemma, and go back to whatever road you love best these days. You've had ample practice.
Where is she?
I don't know. I was hoping this would tell me.
What do you know then?
When Iszara joined the League, she changed its face. She gained us the attention of Prince Ator. Before Iszara, we were a wild pack of nationalists with sharp swords and enthusiastic schemes. Our wanting reputation kept Ator from announcing an open affiliation, but we worked for him in secret, removing forebear traitors on the mainland and killing imperial emissaries too long lingering at our borders.
And then the war came all the way to Stras Makai,
where Ator should have won. He had Hunting Spire with him that day. He would turn back Tiber Septim from Hammerfell forever. The League wasn't invited to join in the battle, for discretion's sake, and we were forced to watch from afar. And at that battle we saw the face of the new empire. They sent a dragon, and no man could stand against it.
It killed Prince Ator?
Ator challenged the beast, but he never reached it. A poisoned arrow from Richton's henchman felled the prince just as he rushed headlong to meet the dragon.
What does this have to do with Iszara?
As Ator lay dying, his wizard, the archmage Voa, tried desperately to save his life. The dragon was upon them, and there was little time. Voa gathered Ator's life force into a soul gem just as the fire rained down. The Battle of Stras Makai ended then, and Iszara's trouble began.
Get to it.
In another story altogether, the League got its hands on the soul gem, reservoir, the prince's power, and the narrative of wishful thinking began. The Restless League now had the means to bring back the prince. We could restore Prince Ator from the soul gem, and under his banner, fight the Battle of Stras Makai again. This time rightly at its side. And then that little witch took it.
Iszara took the soul gem?
And with it the fate of Stras Makai. The prince's spirit within that gem was the spark to ignite a revolution. When Iszara stole the soul gem, she stole from us that fire.
Where would she have gone with it?
If we knew that, you wouldn't be here right now. The only reason we let you in the hideout was to find out what you know, or what this could tell us. We both seem to still be looking for our answers yet.
I'll be back if you're alive, and I'll spare no one then.
Find the soul gem, and you'll find Iszara.
Take me back to Stras Makai.
This is bigger than your sister, Redguard! Remember that? This is about the kingdom! This is about Hammerfell now!
Damn fool. Maybe just the damn fool we need to find Iszara and the soul gem.
Maybe so.
I love these cutscenes. So they stored Ator's soul in a soul gem, but Iszara stole it. She mentioned her love being trapped in amber. She and Ator must have had a thing going on. Our next step is figuring out where that soul gem might be. It was Archmage Voa who soul trapped the prince, so if anyone has information on it, it would be Felicia in the Mages Guild.
Hello, Felicia.
Hello again.
What do you know about soul gems, Felicia?
Nothing. Why do you ask?
Please, Felicia, I think you know why I'm asking. Iszara disappeared shortly after stealing the soul gem from the Restless League. I think she may have come here with it.
She did. I'll tell you about it. I'm sorry I didn't tell you before, but Archmage Jaganvir is worried that the Empire will shut the guild down if we are caught helping the crowns.
I'm not a crown. Iszara is my sister.
Fine. Your sister came here with the soul gem. She was frantic and insisted on speaking to one of the upper cabal. She was worried about being followed and needed to restore Prince Ator as soon as possible.
She was going to bring back the prince?
What do you think the soul gem was for in the first place? A keepsake of her lost love? Look, Archmage Voa put Ator's soul into the gem to save him from the Empire. See? Somehow, the Restless League got their hands on it and were using it to rally supporters to win the kingdom back. Anyway, Iszara got tired of waiting around for this attack to happen, so she swiped the gem and came here to get things done.
But
Since the Archmage was killed in the battle, there was no one left with enough power to restore the prince. Iszara was terrified. Then one of our members, an acolyte named Johto, decided he would try to help her and find another way to restore the prince.
Did it work?
Yeah, Prince Ator's behind you right now making funny faces. No, it didn't work. Iszara was here night and day doing research, with Johto poring over scrolls and spell books to find some clue that would help them. But the Empire must have caught on. A dark elf came to talk to Jaganvir one day, and the next thing you know, Johto is thrown into the city jail for treason against the Empire.
What happened to Iszara?
I don't know if she got away or she was caught along with Johto or what. He's the only one who could tell you that, and he's rotting away in a cell.
Not for long.
You're crazy if you think you're gonna break into the city jail. The Empire has...
Silence! Would you have the Empire put the whole of the guild in chains? Speaking of this as strictly forbidden.
Back off, Sparkly. I was just leaving. I have everything I wanted to know.
You're not leaving until I'm sure you'll never speak a word of what you've learned. And I have a perfect and most satisfying means of ensuring your discretion.
This game is weird. When we try to talk to people in this form, all we can do is make unintelligible gremlin grumbles.
Yellow! Me! Back! Chair!
These little guys actually show up in Project Tamriel and Tamriel Rebuilt as an Easter egg. Now, I don't want to throw shade, cast aspersions, as the kids say, but it's way more endearing in Redguard. The PTR ones are horrifying. So how do we change back? Well, we know there's a mage locked up in the Strosmakai prison, and the prison just so happens to have a small, gremlin-sized opening on the outside. In the prison, we find a cat stuck behind a cell door, and if there's one thing I know about cats, it's that they hate a shut door. It's Johto. We can try talking to him, but all we say is gibberish. The odd thing is that the gibberish isn't consistent. It's like every time we pick a new dialogue option, it adds a new phrase to the end of what we just previously said. If we pick Johto, Cyrus says cha. Then if we pick magic, Cyrus says cha and inj. By sheer luck, I had selected these two dialogue options in that order and had an epiphany.
Cha! Inj! Wee! Me!
What?
Oh.
Me!
Oh, wait.
This means nothing to Johto.
Me! Yellow!
Yeah, I'm hearing change. I heard him hear
Johto
change.
doesn't understand.
Cha! Inj! Me! Back!
What?
Ah.
Oh, Johto sees.
That was cool.
Jaganvir's favorite little trick. What did you do to annoy this Archmage, Johto wonders? Well, Johto take care of this, no problem. Tain somoni ushmathal. There you are.
Thank you. I'm Cyrus.
Restored to our handsome, roguish form, we're now able to question Johto about Iszara. He says Iszara came to him with a Tor's soul gem, hoping he'd be able to restore the prince to life. But Johto is not a powerful enough mage to perform such a feat. But the necromancer Nagasta is. Johto told Iszara to take proper precautions first, that the flask of Lilandro could protect her from the Slode's foul magics. But the search was taking too long. She ran off to the necromancer's tower without it. They had found one piece of the map leading to the flask before she left, and Johto found a second shortly after.
But before Johto can show it, Iszara is gone. Then Imperial they find Johto and stick him here. But Johto still has map piece. He hides it from guards. Here, I show you.
Dram.
Take this. Find flask. Then go to Nagasta. Find Iszara. There, I think.
Ah. 5 gold pizzas.
You talk too much, cat.
No, Johto.
Johto!
Find Iszara.
Redguard, one way out. Through me.
Bastard, you bastard.
I'm surprised Johto managed to tell us everything before Dram killed him. Bethesda didn't want to go with that standard cliche a second time. The poop key guy was more than enough. When we defeat Dram, he throws down a smoke bomb and contorts into a blue skeleton glitch before disappearing. He'll surely be back. Look at me, I bet Assassin's Creed.
It's one of the pirates.
We should check in with Felicia. Let her know we're okay.
You're back. I'm sorry about Jaganveer. He's crazy. Take a potion for your trouble?
I've heard that an ancient artifact, the Flask of Lilandril, was lost on this island long ago. You know the piece I'm talking about?
You're not the first to ask. Everybody seems to think the Mages Guild has access to all the land's magic. Sorry to say, the flask has not turned up for centuries. Lost on this island long ago by the elven founders of the flask who were shipwrecked here. They fled Somerset Isle with the flask, hoping to buy sanctuary from the Clandarini in High Rock, but the seas only brought them this far. Some say there's a map to it.
What about this map to the flask?
Well, nobody has seen it. The stories say it was torn into 4 pieces. One of the pieces was even said to have been inscribed on the bottom of a silver box shaped like a ship.
I tried to free Johto, but he didn't make it.
I guess I'm sorry for that, too. I hope he could help you find your sister.
He set me on the right trail. I need to find the Flask of Lilandril.
We got 3 map pieces to find. First, we buy a book on elven artifacts from Jafar. He reveals that the flask has the power to absorb and redirect magic. Interesting. We bring the book to Maiko. He'll make a map for us, but it'll take 40 minutes. Real-world minutes. While we wait, we get to looking for the other 3 map pieces. Garrick says he's heard the story about the flask, but the elves that left Somerset had run aground on Stros Mackay over 1,000 years ago. If the flask does exist at all, it's probably long gone. But that didn't stop him from selling Krithik many a shovel in his attempts to find it. Krithik used to have a map piece, but it was stolen. Drekius tells us the local drunk, Krendel, recently found a piece. We return to Krithik, get him to describe the map piece, then go back to Krendel and pretend we found his squirreled away piece. This prompts him to drunkenly stumble to its hiding spot, at which point we dig it up and take it for ourselves. The third piece, the one allegedly etched on a silver ship, is hinted to us when we walk by Chrysandra's apartment. Cyrus says,
I wonder what's in there.
Because there's literally no reason to actually check in this random building otherwise. It's not like Chrysandra has anything to say about the flask anyway. Inside, we're attacked by a group of guards. Why might Rickton have sent guards to ransack a loyal forebear's very own home?
I think I know why those soldiers were searching your house. The governor may think you have part of a map showing the location of the Flask of Lilandril.
Why would he think that? I'd never even heard of this flask before I came here.
I've learned that one piece of the map is engraved on a silver ship. Sound familiar?
No, but I inherited a load of junk when I bought this shop. I put it all in my storeroom next to my house, but I haven't had time to look through it. Here, take the key. If you find this ship, keep it. It's only bringing me trouble.
Sure enough, we find exactly what we're looking for. Now what about that last piece? Johto said he and Iszara had found a piece before she ran off, but Johto only gave us the piece he had found on his own. Iszara must have taken the piece with her. If only we knew where she was, we could ask her. All we've got is her Restless League insignia. Gasp! The final piece! That all took just enough time that Maiko's map is done baking. We have a start location and a bunch of map pieces with directions and numbers. The numbers likely being the number of paces we have to walk. It's like a clue scroll from RuneScape. By the way, if you know where the flask is, you can just skip all this and go straight to its location. But I didn't want to do that because that's not in the spirit of the game. I did spend quite a long time looking for it though. At first, I thought Lecky was this monstrosity of a statue. I don't know what that's something else. The start location is in Saintsport, right inside the Way Shrine. If you look up in the Way Shrine, you'll see an image of Lecky pointing west. That's the north of this map, so it's effectively rotated 90 degrees. As if that wasn't confusing enough, now you need to figure out if one pace is one running pace or one walking pace. I looked up the location. It's here, on this grassy patch of desert, not too far from the Lecky Way Shrine. Hooray, the magical doorstop. The one that goes on the wall to prevent the door from hitting the wall, not the wedge. I hadn't mentioned it at the time because it would interrupt the flow of the treasure hunt, but before leaving the port, the main port, not Saint's Port, the first port, I found the Yakuden camp the snake charmer had mentioned. Remember the whole deal with the murdered boy Howl? You may be wondering why Yakudens are distinct from Redguards. Didn't the Redguards descend from refugees fleeing a sinking Yakuda? Yes, but Yakuda still exists, in some shape or form. Every Redguard descends from Yakudens, but not every Yakuden is a Redguard. Think of the Yakudens like an ethnic group. Arguably, the Crowns are one group too, and the Forebears might be another ethnic group because there's like a fractured history. Doesn't matter. Anyway, when we arrive at the camp, we find a woman singing over a strange glyph drawn in the sand. Her son is keeping watch over her. The son, Coil, explains if she stops performing the ritual, Hale's soul will be forever lost to the soul snare.
I'm surprised your mother is able to protect Hale from such a powerful necromancer.
You shouldn't be. My mother is a powerful witch, the witch mother of our whole tribe. If Hale hadn't been born under the sign of the serpent, she could have passed his soul through the necromancer's web easily.
This serpent, one of the constellations?
Yes. The other 12 follow the circles of heaven, guardians and charges. But the serpent respects no master. It moves across the heavens, threatening the other constellations in its path. The only way to guide Hale's soul through the necromancer's snare is to place the starstones in the position of the serpent's head and tail. But there's no way to predict the serpent's path.
And this is why we had to fix the observatory. At the observatory, we observe the serpent's head in the Lord's constellation, and its tail just one sky segment below. Armed with that information, we return to the camp and place the ritual stones in the correct spots, completing the ritual. This allows Hale's soul to pass on undisturbed.
Uitonga! Ali! Ugo! No, Midana!
By his mother's tone, I can deduce she's grateful, but Coil is here to translate nonetheless.
What can you tell me about soul gems, Saban?
Tangbai Teki Matana?
Patiki Madane Denturai.
They are older than the Eastern secrets.
Uitamatakti Matani Tongai.
Soul gems are tricky magic.
Uhi Dumakai.
It takes a powerful sorcerer to use one.
Are you that powerful, Saban?
She is.
Aha! She must have been the witch Iszara wrote about, and she appears to see the future, although cryptically, as seers are wont to do. Her job here on Stros Makai isn't done. Both she and Cyrus will play a role in protecting it. What help will she offer? We'll know it when we see it. Okay, so that's all the branching quests finished. We got the Archmage's ring, we explored the Dwemer ruins, we fixed the observatory, we saved Hale's soul, and we have a good idea where Iszara might be. Back to the Necromancer's Isle. Yelp review for Necromancers. Brought my grandma back, but she didn't remember who I was. 3 stars.
One has what you see.
She just kept screaming. But it was a cheap price. The so-called puzzle here is so simple that it's easy to overthink. Grab this vial, scoop some of the concoction from the cauldron, dump it into the pit in the middle of the room, then use the chemical explosion to launch yourself up to the next level of the tower. It feels like there should be something more to it, considering how finicky the spring jump is, but there's not. Listen, the game's great, but that doesn't mean it's good.
Iszara? What's wrong? Iszara? What's happened to you? Snap out of it, Iszara! What have you done to her, Nagasta?
Iszara just another entry in the Ledger of Lost Souls, Master Cyrus. She belongs to the Great Lord Vial now.
What have you done to her?
She pledged her soul to this one in return for services, and since she had no immediate use, this one gifted her to Lord Vial.
What pledge? What service?
Iszara came thither 3 months ago, leading this one to help her free Prince Etor from the Soul Gem. The dim child had even brought the Soul Gem with her. This one told her the deed might be accomplished, but knowing the eagerness of a client, this one was quite candid about the high price of such services. In return for her soul, this one agreed to free her beloved Prince Etor. Perhaps you will count my fee too dear, but cannot the client misjudge the true value of his service?
Worm, if you will restore her to me now, I give you my word I will not allow myself to bring you harm.
Tell him, Cyrus.
That is quite impossible, of course. Her soul is long since delivered to Clavicus Vial, patron Danger Lord, within whose distant realm your sister's soul now resides. This one admits to have been dilatory in his part of the bargain, for the prince's life force rests still within the soul gem. The very soul gem that adorns the amulet that you delivered to Lord Rigdon.
A shocking revelation.
Ah, well, this one has ages ahead to fulfill the bargain, and it seems petty to deny Lord Rigdon the pleasure of wearing his defeated enemy's soul like a trinket, don't you think?
Worm, restore her now!
Or
I will kill you more quickly than you deserve, and just talk to Vile myself.
Now, let your sister serve as a walking, talking cautionary tale, Cyrus. Would you repeat her mistakes by trifling with this one? And you propose to browbeat my lord Vile into relinquishing your sister's soul. Surely consider this.
Vile is my business now. You have other things to worry about.
Really? What might conceivably trouble this one?
The question is, does your soul get caught in your own soul snare after you die, or does it just get to go straight to hell? Let me help you find out.
The confidence. We crouch down, catch the spell in the flask, and send it back to Nagasta. He teleports around the room between each cast, but he's slow, so we have a wide window of time to turn towards him. After 5 reversals, he dissolves into a blue puddle of goo. You'd think he would have stopped after the first couple counters, but arrogance or something, I don't know. With the slug dead, we may now freely explore his laboratory. We find a spellbook upon a lectern, which outlines a promising ritual, but it's written as a riddle. The jacinth wakes the rising sun, and snow blankets the grass, but night o'ertakes the midday sky, and the gate is open last. It's basically telling you what color ingredients to use, all of which are here in this room, thankfully. Mix amber with orc's blood, jacinth is an archaic term for yellow. Mix unicorn's horn with hist sap. Mix a Daedra's heart with ectoplasm. Then you drop the 3 concoctions, in order, onto the symbol in the middle of the room. And a door opens up. Welcome to the Fields of Regret, realm of the Daedric Prince of Trickery and Bargains, Clavicus Vile. To my knowledge, this is also Todd Howard's acting debut, in the Elder Scrolls at least.
Well, I'm so glad you could come!
It's definitely a choice.
Hand over her soul, Clavicus, or I'll retire you from the Pantheon.
Oh! Don't hurt me, please! Wait, did you think the flask would protect you? Oh, that's excellent! Listen, bold hero Cyrus. Nagasta was much more fun. He was very smart and very scared of me. But your failing, fearless hero, is that you have no imagination. For example, have you any idea what I am doing with your sister's soul right now?
He reminds me of him from the Powerpuff Girls.
So this is what the Daedra lords do in their free time? Trade souls, destroy lives, loaf in the sun?
Mostly it's the same thing, over and over, so boring.
Vile, I don't care whether you're bored or lonely. This talk isn't getting us anywhere. Just tell me, what do you want?
I'm really sorry to lose Nagasta. He always had presents for me.
You like presents, eh?
Got to have presents. No presents, no fun. Sure wish I had a nice present. Hint, hint.
I'll give you this priceless flask from my sister's soul.
Oh, Cyrus, a present for me? You shouldn't have. But thank you. It's a unique addition to my justly famed collection of enchanted artifacts.
All right, you've got the flask. Give me my sister.
Cyrus, I didn't offer to make a trade. You gave me a present. I'm happy with my present, feeling generous. So, let's speak in earnest of your sister's soul.
You're bored, Vile? Then let's play a game for my sister's soul. And to cover the wager, I'll offer my soul.
Are you sure? You know, that thing I'm doing with your sister's soul right now? I'd love to do that little thing with your soul, too.
You can't scare me, little man. I said I'd bet my soul, and my word is my bond.
Ooh, a riddle.
2 doors. One leads to the loss of your soul. The other leads to the return of Iszara.
Ah, this is a classic riddle. I first heard it from that episode of Yu-Gi-Oh!
2 guardians.
With the Paradox Brothers.
One always lies. One always tells the truth. You can ask one of them just one question. Just one. The game begins. Choose wisely.
You ask one of the Guardians which door the other would say is correct. If it's the truth teller, it will tell you the incorrect door because that's what the liar would say. If it's the liar, it'll say the opposite of what the truth teller would say, thereby telling you the incorrect door. Since it told us the left door is the correct door, that means the right door is actually the correct door.
Not such a blockhead after all. But I don't think you've seen the last of me, Cyrus. I've got my eye on you. And playing games with Clavicus Vile, Cyrus, is just like breathing. Once you get in the habit, it's kinda hard to stop. Be lucky, Cyrus. Until we meet again.
Where am I?
You are safe, Iszara.
Is it you?
I'm afraid so.
Where's Nagasta? Is he dead? Where's the soldier?
Iszara,
I have to get back to the League.
But...
What have I done?
Iszara!
Are you coming or not?
Caught up already, have you?
Shut up. Iszara.
Do you plan to stay this time?
Yes.
Because you could run again.
Yes.
It wasn't your war then.
No.
And it's not your war now.
No.
And if you expect anything more than that right now, you can go to hell.
That's just great, Iszara.
Don't give me that. Even if we still had the soldier and we'd be in the same place, you'd still be hiding in this cave and Rickton would still be in our prince's palace.
There's a difference between hiding from the Empire and biding our time.
We're losing time.
You lost the soul gem. What now, girl?
I know where it is.
Yeah, huh?
Rickton has the soul gem.
You've seen him with it?
I gave it to him.
How could...
I didn't know what it was. The necromancer had it fashioned into an amulet, a gift for the governor. He needed someone to deliver it. I did, thinking I could somehow get to you.
My heart just broke. Yours too.
1,000,000 pieces.
We'll just have to get it back.
We'll be killed as soon as we step onto the shore.
Cyrus is right.
What's the point of being condemned as rebels in arms if we never take up those arms against the Empire?
We?
I tell you, Basil, and hear me well. Whether you like it or not, I'm in this now until the end.
I'm not sending my men to Stros Makai. Soul Gem lost or no, Hammerfell needs us alive.
What good are you, Basil, if you do nothing? Are you afraid of shedding a little blood?
Here it comes.
You speak grandly of spending blood that is not your own, son. As for the League, we do what we can, even in hiding. We're pirates, man. The purest form of sedition. To thieves, snares, slit the throat unbeheld. The ever-resident thorns, keeping all sides of guard. alleviating every inertia with our own. Our raids force the Emperor to garrison Stros Makai and tie up ships and men here, and our piracy hits Richten where it counts, in his gold purse. If he doesn't squeeze this province for the profits the Emperor demands, his head will roll.
Don't forget the dragon, Basil. Because that's the thing you really fear, isn't it? The Battle of Stros Makai hung in the balance until the governor called in his dragon, right?
Well, there's that too.
I'll take care of the dragon.
Big man.
Can I feel your muscle?
Richten probably has the dragon guarding the soul gem in the palace treasure vaults.
Where are they?
You can enter them through the catacombs, but you need the key.
Where'd you get this?
The prince and your sister were good friends, Cyrus. The treasure vaults were to be her jewelry chain.
I've had enough of your chatter, Basil. I'm going to find the gem, and then I'll find somebody who'll bring the prince back. When that's done, should I tell him to expect your aid or not?
I expect you'll have just as much success as your sister had, Cyrus. You can hardly do any worse.
I'll go with you.
2 weeks still. Look, I've done well enough to this point. I can finish this. For you.
For Hammerfell.
Fine, for Hammerfell. When I have the soul gem and somebody that can break its magic, what should I do?
Send us the signal and we'll meet at the temple. Brother Niddle has Atora's body hidden there.
Redguard! When you have the prince, you have his men.
That was a long cutscene. Oh, it's still going.
I should help you.
You're too well known on the island. The Imperial...
I can handle them.
And you will, after the temple. I won't fail you. Not like last time.
Look, let's get this straight. You murdered my husband and ran away. On one day, you robbed me of the 2 people I loved and trusted most in the world. Hakan was not much of a husband, but you were not, and you are not fit to judge him. Nor am I fit to judge you. You're guilty of gods know how many crimes and cruelties, not the least of all what you've done to your own flesh and blood. But whatever harm you've done to me, I forgive you. You're my blood and younger brother, and I can do no less. But if you trifle with the affairs of the League, and with the fate of Hammerfell and her people, then run away like you did last time, I will find you. You are a charming, vain, self-absorbed child, never thinking of anyone but yourself and your own profit. But if you take up this thing, you will see it through to the end, or I will kill you.
I am going to find that soul gem, and I will get your prince back. Iszara, I know what you think of me. I'm not proud of what I've been, but something is happening here, and I don't really know what I'm saying.
Then don't say anything. I'm not interested in your words, Cyrus. It's enough to have you here. I just have to believe that you'll stay when I need you.
I will finish this.
I'd assumed Cyrus was the older brother. Knowing that Iszara's older sorta recontextualizes the whole thing. Not sure why. Big brother saving little sister feels different than little brother saving big sister. Maybe it's because I'm a little brother. We're in the final stretch. Our goal is getting into the palace, finding the soul gem, and bringing it back to the League. The key Iszara gave us should make sneaking in much easier. We've already seen the door it unlocks, actually. All the way back at the beginning of the game, when we were escaping from prison. Rather than getting arrested again, we backtrack through the secret prison exit, hop over the lava, and proceed through Chekhov's door. On the other side, another dungeon. The first half of the dungeon is standard fare. Fight guards, pull levers, find runestones, slot them into slots, open doors, usual stuff. The second half, however, like you'll swing a weapon and oh my god, I just got cut in half. We've got new kinds of booby traps awaiting us. This puzzle gave me a bit of trouble. You have 3 weighted bricks, and there are 8 floor panels in the corridor. The goal is to have all 3 panels with the sun symbol depressed, so the door at the end of the corridor opens. But if you step on a panel without an adjacent panel depressed, you get cut in half. At least that's how I think the puzzle works. I did figure out a solution without looking it up, but I can't say it wasn't a lot of trial and error. Personally, I would have crawled. Our reward is a key. Don't mind the banana squad. What the hell is all this? Who financed this? This was here before the Empire showed up. Yeah, so we set up the spinning concentric circles. Where'd you want the giant obsidian arrowheads? Oh, waist height in the middle of the circles? Cool, yeah, sounds good, Chief. We maneuver through the death hallways, drop through holes in the floor, pull a lever, and reach the bottom of this thing. A door that opens on its own. Ominous.
What's this?
little privacy. A little candlelight, and the pleasantries begin. My name is Nephalalagus.
So, you're Richton's pet, then?
You wound me. Richton's pet is that dark little thing with the poison splinters. I am Tiber Septim's proud soldier, loyal vassal, a jewel of the crown. It's not my fault I have to keep company with the governor.
You have something I need, Dragon.
I shan't lie to you, good stranger. My imperial loyalty is indeed well paid for. We aren't very different, I would venture. You seem the mercenary sort too, so you'll understand if I do not readily agree to part with my latest reward.
Maybe we can bargain for it.
I so do love mortal fantasy. I'll play along. What will you give me for the soul of Prince Ador?
I'll spell your name right on your tombstone.
Rethinking your plan, Redguard. Where are you? Where are you? Rethinking your plan, Redguard. Where are you? You are. Where are you?
5 minutes of poking his tootsies had me thinking something was amiss. Perhaps you're not supposed to kill him. Perhaps you're just supposed to survive his attack while you steal the soul gem. Nope, gotta kill him. There's a gimmick, actually, and I can't for the life of me figure out how the player would know this. Either Bethesda dropped the ball, or there was some obscure hint that we just never noticed. You have to heat your sword in the brazier the dragon lit. Only then will your attacks harm Nephalalagus. You'd think a dragon would be immune to fire, but all it takes is 3 hits. It's stupid. So we got the prince's soul, Brother Niddle has the prince's body. Now all we need is a powerful mage to perform the resurrection, and we happen to know a witch who owes us a favor.
The soul gem. The ring.
What is it? Did it work?
I'm sorry, Cyrus.
What's wrong? What happened? What did you do wrong?
It didn't work.
What now, Redguard?
The sword.
Oh, Tatene.
His soul is in the sword.
Mother?
How did this happen?
She doesn't know. It was...
Who cares how it happened? It's over, Cyrus. We can't follow a sword. You failed us. We're through.
Is this how you will honor your prince, then? Cautious I've thought you, Basil, but never before a coward. We all have waited for the prince's return. Now that he has returned, you walk away. The form is different, true, but his spirit is here. And isn't his spirit the truest part of him? Did it occur that maybe he chose this shape and symbol as the sign of his intentions? Perhaps that soul in hated delay snared helpless in a jewel while his men hid and shirked their duties, his duty. Perhaps that soul honed itself to this and by no mistake comes to you now in no more fine and final form as this. A sword. You say you cannot follow a sword? Well, I say that you have strayed from your own too long. Why are you here but to fight? Your prince has shown you the manner of his purest metal, and metal itself. And this true, unerring razor's message is clear beyond words, for now's not the time for words, but for brave hands, bright swords, and blood. Aye, boys, it's about blood now, too long frozen in your veins. And you'd rather yourself be rigid than follow me. Well, if you won't, then shamefully know that your prince will. For his blood be solid too, but strained to steel and tempered in death. Arise alike as he, as swords as we are crowns alike as he. The prince is dead. Long live the prince!
What shall we do?
You shall secure the harbor. We can't have any more of them coming in. Once that's done, take it to the Imperials still left on the water. When they see the harbor is ours again, they will make sail for the mainland.
What about you?
I'm going into the palace to kill the governor.
You can't do that alone. How will you get in?
I won't be alone. And the prince shares secrets.
Let me come with you, Cyrus.
And you aren't going without me.
No, you help Basil and the League take the harbor. If we storm the palace, Rickton and his men will dig in. It has to end now. With the League running amok in the water, the palace will be near empty as they try to stop you. I'll reach Rickton easy and remind him whose seat is the throne of Stros Makai.
They'll hear about this in the rest of Hammerfell.
Then let's make sure it's loud.
Final dungeon time. Scores of guards patrol the palace, but our new sword makes quick work of them. It's Imperial Wuthrat. Combat's still a pain in the ass though, so running when we can is rather appealing. Foolish, but appealing. Surely my lack of preparation won't turn the final fight into a Sisyphean effort. Our goal is to find a key that'll open the door atop this Dwemer elevator, which, I might add, is colored remarkably close to WoW's Judgment armor set. Grab the buckets, scoop the water, douse the flames, climb the rope, struggle to jump, then finally make it. Excellent, here's the key. Back to the lift. All we find behind that door is a lever that lowers the crane basket. All this work, just to reach a dirigible. And you thought TSA was a pain in the ass. I think... with an armor potion, we might be able to survive 4 hits. At the top of the lift, we fight Dram once again. Surely this will be our last meeting. Now the final fight. It's shockingly difficult. I barely have any health left, the jump cheese hardly works, and Rickton is super tanky and quick.
Reconsider your options, knave. Reconsider your options, knave. What's your form? Reconsider your options, knave. What's your form? Open it. Rogues luck. Reconsider your options, knave. Reconsider your options. Reconsider your options, knave. Reconsider your options, knave.
Come on.
Opening, Cyrus. What's your form? Opening, Cyrus. Opening, Cyrus. How remarkable. I may well be the first Imperial Admiral to surrender at this altitude.
No surrender, Governor. You just die on your feet.
The rules of engagement state quite clearly that a losing party may yield to his opponent on the field of battle, and that the victor may, within honorable reason, determine his ransom.
Remind me in hell.
But where's the money in that? Or Redguard honor? I know a swordsman like you, Redguard, can't kill an unarmed man. And as a gentleman, I place myself under your protection, and as a swordsman of no little accomplishment, I congratulate you on your mastery of the longsword. And I congratulate you also on your small victory here. I have failed my Emperor, and may regret surviving to face his displeasure, but... drop the weapon.
What were those rules of engagement again?
I'm sorry, Redguard. The rules of engagement govern the affairs of gentlemen. But you, a rebel in arms, a traitor to the Emperor, and a threat to the Emperor's peace, all you have earned is summary execution. You die now, Redguard.
Do it then, because that'll be the easy part. But look down there, Rickton. Now there's an army that's tasted victory, and one you'll never defeat again.
No more words.
Rickton, it's time you saw that Redguard fire you've heard so much about. You never did kill the Prince, Rickton. He lives.
Why didn't the sword do this earlier? Oh my god, the sword just cut him in half!
The old quarter should be restored in time for the celebrations, my lady.
Make sure Captain Basil has all the men he needs.
You know I have to leave soon.
Can't you at least stay for the celebrations? They are because of you, after all. Baron Volai came out of hiding to retake Sentinel after he heard of our own uprising. Both he and the Emperor are coming here to work out the treaties.
The Emperor's coming here?
We've had 2 bloody wars in as many years, Cyrus. And a court must be struck with the Empire. But at least now we will be respected allies if all goes well, instead of exploited subjects. Atur, guide me in this.
I've never been much for politics.
I forgive you anyway. I can do no less.
This game is great. The combat is insufferable, and the platforming is a little fiddly, but the world design, the dialogue, the atmosphere, it's all fantastic. It reminds me of the graphic adventure games from the 80s and 90s. In fact, I would wager money that if this were more like King's Quest, rather than an action-adventure game, it might have been remembered more fondly. It might not have flopped. Redguard's weakness is in everything that a graphic adventure game wouldn't have. Come on, Bethesda, license out the Elder Scrolls. Let other developers make non-RPG test games. I need more of this world. It's been 15 years, Todd.